This is Dr. Max at Maximal Wellness. Well, I've suffered from bloating and gut issues, constipation, depression, anxiety, all sorts of food intolerances for a really long time. And it wasn't until I got really serious about taking care of my digestive health and got the testing and the program I needed to address these issues that things actually started to get better. So 2025 was a really hard year for me. I started a small business. I'm raising three kids, 7, 5, and 2. In February, one of my best friends took his own life, and then later in the summer, I lost my grandmother. So there's been a lot of stress and a lot of personal loss. And eventually, all the stress really started weighing on me. I could tell it was really affecting me. My gut was getting really bad, and I started getting symptoms of asthma that I hadn't had since I was in middle school. So I knew that I needed to buckle down and figure this thing out because I am an expert in digestive health, and I worked with patients and clients with these issues all the time. And so I knew what I needed to do. I designed a three-step gut protocol based on lots of research evidence, my own years in clinical practice working with thousands of people, and my own experiences in knowing myself to figure out how to identify, improve, and resolve gut issues. And I wanted to share my experience going through that protocol myself so that you could see that I practice what I preach and how this kind of stuff can be really useful for you as you're trying to tackle your gut health problems. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get the right testing, right? So because I know what kind of tests to do, I ended up doing three things. I did a food sensitivity panel. I did Cyrex's Array 10 to check and see which foods I was intolerant to because I was developing symptoms of asthma. I hadn't had that since middle school, getting all sort of chest tightness, gut issues. So I knew some foods were playing a role. Then I did two different stool tests. I did Genova Diagnostics GI Effects 1-day kit, and I did the Biome BIOHM microbiome test kit through standard process. I did two stool tests just because I wanted to compare and contrast and see what they could find there. So the food sensitivity testing was tough because I'm already gluten and dairy free, and I found that I was really intolerant of all the nuts and seeds. I found that seed oils were causing a lot of inflammation for me. I found that some of the vegetables I eat every day were causing inflammation, as well as all of the gums like guar gum and locust bean gum. Actually, no, not that one, but a bunch of the gums like carrageenan, and so all sorts of foods. So a big change to my diet. Then when it came to the GI effects panel, I learned that I was really dysbiotic. I had a really imbalanced microbiome. Stress will wear on you over time. It can actually degrade the lining of your gut. And I was a great example of this. I found that I had bacterial overgrowth. A bunch of different species were growing more than they should in a healthy gut environment. And I found that I had really intense leaky gut, intestinal permeability, which was why my body became so sensitive to all these foods in the first place. So step one, of course, is you have to remove those inflammatory foods from your diet. If you're trying to put out a fire, you don't keep throwing kindling on, right? So that's step number one, is to take those inflammatory foods. I had to go nut and seed free, which was really hard. I wasn't eating gluten, I wasn't eating dairy, so I was eating nuts or seeds basically every day of my life. That was a huge change for me. Um, I then had to address the dysbiosis, the overgrowth of those different microbes. So I had to figure out what approach I was going to do. Was I going to do the herbs and the botanicals? Was I going to do the antibiotic route, which isn't my favorite because I work with all sorts of clients that have been on 8 to 10 rounds of antibiotics and they're not any better and their microbiome's totally shot. So that's not my preferred method of doing it unless people really need it. I also had to make sure that I had a food plan for myself, a dietary guide, and meals that I could rely on when I was feeling stressed, fatigued, didn't have any energy that would be safe for me so that I wouldn't be too tempted to go off my diet and derail all the progress I was making. So my three-step process is one, you have to test and remove, right? So I did the tests, I removed the inflammatory foods, then you have to kill off the dysbiosis, the imbalance in your microbiome, or if you're dealing with infections, you have to wipe those out. The second step is then to help rebuild and rebalance your microbiome. That's through taking things like pre and probiotics if your body's ready for that. and trying to correct that dysbiosis, the imbalance in your microbiome, so it's not overgrowing. You don't have too few microbes, you have to get that nice balance. The other thing that's really important, and especially for me in this case, is to try and address the leaky gut, right? If you address those other steps without actually correcting the leaky gut, you're not going to have long-term improvement because your body's going to still be reacting to foods. It's going to be reacting to microbes and normal things that go through your digestive tract, creating inflammation and keeping you in this cycle of pain and dysfunction. 2 weeks into my protocol, I was getting a lot less bloating and was feeling a lot more energy. I also wasn't getting that tight sensation in my chest like asthma when I would eat certain foods. So that was really encouraging, letting me know I was on the right path. About a month in, my gut pain was a lot better. Bowel movements were better. And unless I went off my approved diet, had a little celebration meal, I didn't have any major gut pain or issues there. After 3 months of doing this was really cool. That's when I noticed a significant change in my stress and anxiety levels. I was no longer constantly in that sort of fight or flight sense of irritability and anxiety because I had been making those changes and that was enough time for me to reestablish that connection between my gut and my brain. So your symptoms may be caused by patterns you can't see without testing. Even I'm learning that when you combine the fact that I was eating inflammatory foods with high stress, even though I'm a doctor and I felt like I was eating well for myself, taking care of myself, exercising, trying to focus on my sleep, how that sort of chronic stress and inflammatory food can degrade the lining of your gut over time, lead to that microbiome imbalancing. So, if you're curious about getting to the root cause of your digestive issues, if you want to work alongside me and collaborate and see how you can not only address what's going on with your gut, but improve in a lasting and sustainable way, reach out to me directly. You can DM me the word heal, you can send me an email, and I'll send you a personalized message with my own tips and unique strategy for improving your digestive health.